Hello friends and welcome. My name's Papa and today we're playing some more Steins Gate Zero. Before we get into it, there's some trigger warnings in this game that I just want everyone to be aware of, and if it's not your thing, then yeah, hopefully you can find some place that you'd rather spend your time today. This game includes themes such as, but not limited to, murder, torture, rape, abduction, strong sexual encounters, any of those things with a minor. Yeah, if any of those things... Oh, and blood and gore. I always forget the blood and gore. So if any of those things is not for you, please find some place that you'd rather spend your time today. Now, last time in this game, we started our first bad ending, which is Twin Automata, which looks at the relationship between Maho and Christina, namely back when they were in America and how they first met. We had put Maho up with Lukako originally, and then we moved them to Barris's condo just because we thought it would be the safest. And oh, what's the reporter's name? Name's escaping me, but they both decided to stay there. They messed up that condo something real bad. And then we enlisted the child, who's apparently Sergeant Clean, which is Mr. Clean's long-lost cousin, to help clean it up. But yeah, we're still in the midst of this first bad ending. Just for some info, so at the end of the last stream, I was like, this ending is really long. Like, we've been in it, I don't know, I would say just over 3.5 hours. Granted, for about half an hour of that time, we looked through computer stuff in my basement. So maybe we're closer to about 3 hours in this ending. I wasn't able to find an exact time for approximately how long it is. However, I did find a quote from someone that basically went like this. Twin Automata was a pretty decent ending. However, it would have been so much better if it was about 1/5 the length. Based on that, I can only assume that it's gonna be like another hour. But I really have no idea. So yeah, we're going to continue with the Twin Automata ending, and I'd like to hope we get past it, because if we don't, we'll have been doing this ending for over 5 hours, which is pretty ridiculous. But yeah, hello Samus, hello everyone, how is everyone doing? We just came out of the apartment, we're walking Nae home, because it's late, and she's a child who just bossed her and a bunch of adults. And Daru liked it, and we still don't like Daru for obvious reasons. I don't know where they're going, but they're excited. Is it sad to say that we are the most adulty adult here? Okabe is the most adult person? I mean, technically I guess he is the only adult of these three. It was getting late, so the cleaning party ended as soon as Nae left. It was Mayuri and I who'd gone to get Sergeant Clean's help, so we were responsible for getting her back to the Brawn 2 workshop. Not home? We know where she lives, it's... whatever, it's 9 o'clock at night, we can also just take the child home instead of to work. Oddly enough, Maho had said she'd wanted to take a walk and came along with us. I stand corrected, Maho is the most adulty adult of us now.
よーいスタート。
やれやれ。
I was more excited than usual. Is it because of all the praise that everyone had showered on Sergeant Clean?
どうかしたか？
いいえ、岡部さんのそういう顔初めて見たかもと思って。
どういう顔だ？
なんて
Can
いう
we
のか
see
しら。
your own face? Can I take a picture? Alright, I don't have a camera, despite the fact that I do video calls.
初めて会った時からあなたは常に意識を張り詰めているような感じがしたから。
そうかな。自分では意識してなかったよ。
This time of night, most shops off the main road in Akihabara were starting to close. There was no one around at all. The only ones walking down the alley at this hour were us four. I looked up and I could just barely see the stars past the clear winter sky. And knowing this game, a car barreling down at the four of us.
なあ、ヒヤジョーさん。俺は君に言わなきゃならないことがあるんだ。クリスのことで。
Oh, cut music.
クリスは
Just as I was about to tell her, you get the feeling this might be the bad ending. Yeah. See, knowing my luck, this ending probably only has like 5 more minutes, because that's just what happens when I stream things. It's either going to have 5 more minutes or 5 more hours. There's no in between. No. No. The stream does not end. How many endings are there? Let me look at my ending guides. We got this ending, 2, 3. There's 4 bad endings. Then there's the regular ending, and after the regular ending, there's the true ending, which we are getting the flags for along the way. So it's really like 5 endings, just the true ending piggybacks onto the normal ending. The child's about to run across an intersection. This can't possibly end well. I called the car. Suddenly, a black van with its headlights off leapt out of a side street and almost ran over Nae. Nae just barely avoided being run over, but she fell butt first on the ground. Mayuri ran over to her. I warned you. Right! I went to run over to Nae and realized that something was wrong. So either this is the end or we have 5 hours of what happened after this particular... It's just 5 hours of cleaning a room. That's this entire ending. The black van's door opened and 3 people got out. 2 were wearing masks, and 1 was wearing a full-face helmet. All of them had guns. I think this is the bad ending, guys. They were speaking in English. The time and place were different. This is definitely the best ending. But this was the same thing I'd seen before. The flashback froze me in place. He did tell us to freeze, we were complying. People with guns ignored Mayuri and Nae. They came straight for me and Maho. I decided they have to be after one of us. So I said, "Quick, take the girl!" and I ran away. I forced myself out of the flashback and grabbed Maho's arm, trying to force her to run. I pushed her hard. Maho had a look of terror and confusion on her face, but she did what I told her and started to run. She ran down a narrow alleyway and vanished from sight. The attackers seemed to be after Maho, not me. They tried to follow her down the alleyway. I quickly threw myself between them. I got shot! I heard gunshots echo in the dark alleyway, and Mayuri and Nae screamed. Did they shoot? The attacker in the full-face helmet had fired a warning shot into the sky, it looked like. Firing a gun on a Tokyo street was sure to get the police's attention. Did they just not care? I looked close and realized that in addition to their black helmet, they were wearing a black motorcycle suit. What is that name? Does it... Woman with riding suit. There you go. I would have... Based on what they'd said, woman with helmet also fits. Woman in black fits. Is that a typo? Woman's with riding suit. Yes, yes, it is a typo. I guess it's not a typo, it's a grammatical error. Because technically, those are all words. They're just grammatically not correct. Armed man... Maho... Is that... Yeah, that's the only time we had that. A woman? The black face mask kept me from seeing her face, but... Was it Moeka? No, that was impossible. You should be at Ferris's right now. Woman's with riding suit. The woman stood in front of me without a word. They were after Maho. I wasn't sure if it was a good idea to let her escape or not. The woman in the motorcycle suit kept her gaze locked on me at all times. Gave the other two men hand signals. It is very intense, Samus's, and I know if you had enough points for Juggle, you'd be redeeming it right about now. They headed for the alleyway that Maho had used, with their guns at the ready. You have enough for a hydrate. Okay, we can have intense hydrate music. I yelled, but I hesitated to do anything more. Those bulky guys would catch up with Maho almost immediately. But if I resisted, I put not only my own life in danger, but Mayuri's and Nae's as well. Damn it, please get away, Maho. I prayed as I watched the attackers run down the alley. Suddenly, one of them came flying back out of the alley. The other one was crawling backwards with his gaze locked on whatever lurked in alley's rear. Interesting sentence. It was as if he'd run into a bear. Someone was in that alley. Who? Suzuha? The actual person who looks like a bear? A large muscular man appeared from the alleyway. It was Yugo Tenoji. Did he come all the way from his shop? I could hear the woman in the motorcycle seat shout from within her helmet. She must have been using a radio. The order to retreat. She'd made a fast call. She was probably a professional. The van started to pull away with its door still open. The driver must have still been inside. Mayuri and Nae were both still sitting on the ground, but evidently they were okay. The woman in the motorcycle suit turned around and tried to escape using another alleyway. I chased after her, but she suddenly spun around and hit me with the stock of her gun. It was so sudden I didn't have a chance to dodge. I took the blow right on my jaw. Even if you had the chance to dodge, I'm pretty sure you still would have taken it right in the face. I fell to the ground. I couldn't move. I just hope Maho made it away okay. That was my only thought before I passed out. Oh my gosh, this ending, it's still going. Now we're Maho running away. Maho just kept running. She had no idea what was going on. The way Okabe had been acting and the gunshots she'd heard, something really bad was going on. She prayed for Okabe and Mayuri's safety as she ran towards Ferris's condo. Yep, it's probably another 5 hours of stream. She could get there. She could find Ferris, Kuroki, and Moeka. Maybe they could do something. But just before she reached the building, she saw the black van from before coming down the street. She quickly turned around. She was starting to lose hope. That van was still moving around. Had Okabe and the others been captured? Now they were looking for her? Felt herself starting to cry as she raced for the station. Let's just show you all the artwork because we only had one other chance to show it this entire game. But she didn't know what to do when she got to the station. She needed to find the police, but she didn't know where the police station or police boxes were. She asked one of the people around the station, or the staff, for help. Mind was racing at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and she needed it to calm down and be in kilometers. And then she realized. She searched the pockets of her clothes for her smartphone. And then just in case, she checked her bag, but she couldn't find it in either place. They were back. It was the same black van. He was driving around this area, searching for her. He quickly hid behind a nearby coin-operated locker. Probably just left it on the table. Did she drop it when she was running? She traced her steps from before she'd left. And then she realized. She'd been talking with Okabe just before she left the condo. Yes, they are the same lockers. Because artists could only be bothered to draw one set of coin lockers. They did, however, draw a nighttime version and a daytime version. After she'd lied about having to make a call, Okabe had brought her the phone. And then she'd left it on the desk. It's probably still there. What did I say? You'd have to get the police somehow. Maybe she should run into one of the stores? Several of them were still open. Best option would probably be to get to the station, or Yodobashi. The problem was that black van. See, the problem was the people trying to kidnap me with guns. If it wasn't for them, this would be easy. It was still going around looking for her. If she moved, it might find her. If she stayed where she was, it might find her. She tried to make herself as small as possible and hide behind a telephone pole. Oh, he done got captured. Suddenly a hand reached out from behind her and across her mouth. Someone grabbed her from behind. She tried to yell and rip it off, but the hand wouldn't move at all. She couldn't even move her head. All she could tell was that it was a man's hand. Maho was starting to get ticked off at how ridiculous all this was. So she summoned every ounce of strength she could muster and slammed her elbow into the man behind her.
Oops.
She heard a small scream. She was finally released. But she thought she knew that scream.
教授
Yeah, Maho.
It was Dr. Luskinen. He was holding his solar plexus, as if in great pain. And he smiled at her. Geez, I wonder if he's pretending to be in great pain after being elbowed as hard as he could be in his stomach.
護身術を身につけているとは感心だね。
どうしてこんなとこに
多分君と同じ理由さ。ミスター・イザキとさっきまでディナーを楽しんでいたんだ。最後にメイドバーに行こうとしたところで銃を持った連中に襲われたんだ。
私もそうなんです。
やっぱりか。これはギャス漏れ事故もホテルが荒らされたのも同じ理由と考えて良さそうだね。
I love how the gas leak, the starting quote, is on its own line.
狙いはアマデウスかもしれません。私が持っている制御コードを含めて。
なるほど。
これからどうしましょう。
He thought for a moment, as he caught his breath. Evidently, the pain from Maho's elbow was receding.
今、エムデウスにはアクセスできるかい？
できません。スマホを置いてきてしまって。
OK。ならば、オフィスに行こ
う。新しい方のオフィスですか？
Luskinen nodded.
目的が分からず動きようがなかったが、連中の狙いがエムデウスなのであれば話は早い。大学のネットワークストレージ上に残っているエムデウスへの接続プログラムを消去する。それが終わり次第、ステートへ帰ろう。君を保護してもらう。それで連中は手も足も出ないはずさ。
Ah, yes. Let's go back to the safety of America, where there's much fewer guns.
でも
何か問題があるかね？
The professor's attitude was a little different from usual. Maho found herself unable to say a word. His plan was the best that she could think of. They would delete the only way to access Amadeus from within Japan, and get Maho and her control keys to safety. The only reason she was hesitating was simple sentimentality. She hadn't been here long, but she'd enjoyed spending time with Okabe and Moeka. Didn't want to leave without saying goodbye, but she couldn't help it.
わかりました。行きましょう。
There was no one in the Tokyo Denkai University office. She'd worried that her attackers might be waiting for her, but evidently she'd been worried over nothing.
We did it! どうやら先回りはされていなかったようだね。どうかしてたかい？
いえ、そうですね。幸運です。
They'd been very lucky. So lucky, in fact, she was actually feeling nervous. If they were after Amadeus, wouldn't they have come here first? This was only a temporary office that had been picked a few days ago. Maybe they didn't know about it yet?
考えすぎは良くないわね。
魔法、急ごう。作業を頼むよ。
はい。
She quickly booted up her laptop and opened the login screen. Once again, her mind was drawn to the account name on the screen, Salieri.
魔法？
Professor noticed her hands had stopped and urged her on.
作業が難しいなら私がやるか？
Must have thought she was still upset over the attack. She shook her head and got to work.
すみません。つい考え事を。こ こ数日私とクリスとの関係について考えていたんです。
As she typed at the key, she explained things to Dr. Leskinen.
自分のユーザー名を見たらそれを思い出してしまって、私にとって彼女は文字通りアマデウスでした。
クリスがモーツァルト？ああ、それはつまり魔法はクリスに対してのサリエリだったという話か。
ええ。
Isn't her laptop using Linux, Unix? It shouldn't take that long to type in. CD to a couple directories, rm-rf, whatever your access folder is, done. Bingo.
それで思い出したよ。クリスも以前同じことを言っていたんだ。
Why even CD? I mean, yeah, rm space dash rf and then full path to the root directory of your access application. There you go. That works too. And I guess you need to do a kill 9 of the process that's probably running on the server. So, yeah. It should not take this long. The longest part should be deleting the entire folder.
クリスがどんな風に？
ある日、エムデウスとは神に愛された子という意味だと聞いた私はクリスにこう言ったのさ。君はまさにエムデウスだねと。そしたら彼女は微笑んでこう答えた。
私がアマデウスだとしたらサリエリはマホ先輩ですね。
Who reboots their servers?
クリスがそう言ってたんですか？
ああ。
Or until an applicant attempts to read a file from the disk.
クリスが
What if it's already reading files from the disk? Maho's mind went blank. Chris, who had said that? What did she mean?
魔法？大丈夫かい？顔色が悪いが。
いえ、大丈夫です。作業を続けます。
Maho felt a tempest raging within her mind. But for now, she needed to focus on the work in front of her. She could focus later.
ログインできました。
All of those button presses were just her password, apparently. Because now she's logged in.
いいんですね。
Maho didn't look up from the screen.
ああ。
Dr. Leskinen didn't hesitate at all.
別にエムデウスの本体を消去するわけじゃない。サクッと済ませてしまおう。
わかりました。
Been running for 13 straight days.
アマデウスシステムへの接続プログラムを一時的に全て消去します。
その必要はないわ。
え？
Oh, we got people being shot. She heard a voice from the entrance to the room, and then a bang. Remember, whoa, is the sound you make when you get shot by a gun. By the time Maho looked up, it was all over. Dr. Leskinen was lying on the sofa. He wasn't moving at all. You could see a blood stain spreading over his clothes. She didn't need to check. He was dead. Best ending ever.
動かないで。
レイエス教授。
Oh snap.
お久しぶりね、魔法。
どう うして。
話すと長くなるし。
She's one of the other professors here. Dr. Leskinen and her would go out together and just explore the town. But she's also from their school in America.
全てを知ってしまったら、あなたを
I
殺す
can't
しか
remember
な
what her
くなって
field
し
is,
まう
though. Dr. Reyes pointed the gun at Maho and smiled.
今の言葉の意味、わかるわよね。
私が殺されずに済む方法があるってことよね。
うん、頭のいい子は好きよ。
The system finally booted and Krisu appeared on the screen. Also, that's clearly just a Mac desktop background, because I can see your all your applications at the bottom.
先輩、どうしたんです？
Krisu was extremely perceptive. You could tell that something was wrong just by looking at Maho's face. Dr. Reyes smiled silently. Maho kept staring at the gun as she answered.
今、大ピンチ中。
その子に今の状況を教えてあげなさいよ。
え、その声、レイエス教授ですか？
ええ、そうよ。
Maho spun the laptop around on the table so Krisu could see the entrance.
レイエス教授、その銃は。レスキネン教授が殺されたわ。この女にね。そんな。
Krisu was too shocked to speak.
レイエス教授、自分が何をやっているのか分かっているの？あなたのこれまでのキャリアが無に帰すのよ。
大学の給料では老後が心配なの。ほら、私って男運がないから。
Do professors in the States get paid that little?
だから、もっと稼げるところに転職したってわけ。
That was enough for Maho to understand what Reyes was after. Money! As most villains are.
アマデウスを軍事転用するつもりなのね。
Yeah, I can't remember what her field is. I'm guessing it's something in the sciences. Just based on this game, it would make sense for her field to be something in the sciences, but unrelated to sort of the biochemical fields, and I guess physics fields.
答えないわよ。言ったでしょ。すべてを知ったら、あなたを殺さなければならなくなる。
She's clearly a music major, therefore has absolutely no money.
レスキネン教授を殺しておきながら、よくもそんなことが言えるわね。
必要なのは制御コードよ。今の状態では、たとえデータを丸ごとコピーしたとしても、この生意気な AI は私の言うことを聞いたりしないでしょ。
生意気？それ、私のことですか？
Man, I'm just thinking, like, I don't know for sure, it probably depends university to university, but here in Canada, even if you were a non-tenured professor, you're probably still making 6 digits. You're probably still making like $100,000 a year. Maybe not quite that, like maybe some fields are like 80,000 a year, but it's still good pay for the most part.
これでもマイルドに表現したつもりよ。さあ、マホ。クリスが隠し持っている秘密の日記の鍵を開けなさい。わかるわよね。制御コードを入力するのよ。
I mean, it also makes sense because you've gone through all that schooling, and I know schooling in the States is a lot more expensive than in Canada. In Canada, if you were just doing like your tuition, course fees, and like books and transit, Your undergrad, you're still probably looking at, I'd say, like 10 grand a year, so there's 40 grand for an undergrad. That wouldn't even include like an apartment or something, or like dorm or whatever. And then masters is more expensive, and I don't even know how much more PhD is. I'm assuming it's more expensive than that.
アマデウスの不可侵領域ストレージのロック、それを解除して私を管理者として再
I
設定す
think
る。
masters might be like an extra 3 to 4 grand a year.
そこまでやってくれたらあとはこっちで何とかするわ。
And it also depends on your field, because I know I had I can't remember the exact relation, third cousin twice removed or something that went through to become a doctor, and after he had done all his schooling, he was like $1 million in debt, because medical school's expensive.
断ったら
今すぐに恩師に再会させてあげる。
Race waved the gun a little from side to side and pointed to Dr. Leskin's body on the sofa.
私が制御コードを打ち込んだ直後にその引き金が引かれないという保証は誰がしてくれるの？
信頼してもらうしかないわね。ただこういう言い方ならできる。今の私のボスはアマデウスのメンテナーを必要としている。あなたが転職するつもりがあるなら紹介してあげてもいいわ。
Maho glanced back at the laptop. Chrissy was staring at her, worried.
先輩。
さあ早くなさい。
先輩。分かったわ。先輩。クリス、ごめんなさい。
Maho closed her eyes, started to sing.
ララララララララララ
Please tell me it's a musical lock.
ラララララララララ。
わあ、アマデウスの制御コードがモーツァルトのメロディーだなんてずいぶん洒落てるじゃない。
ララララララララララララララ。
It happened as soon as she finished singing. The expression disappeared from Chrissy's face, and the background on the display turned red.
正門確認完了。最高管理権限保持者比谷城真帆です。受信したメロディーコードをデータベースと照合します。照合確認完了。当該メロディーコードは第555バッチコマンドの起動命令です。
Execute Order 555.
第555バッチコマンドは最高権利権限保持者によるパスコード入力を必要とします。入力確認完了。強制コード介入によりパスコード入力を省略して本バッチコマンドを起動します。起動確認完了。本バッチコマンドはアマデウスシステムの不可侵領域ストレージロックの強制解除およびそれに伴う最高管理権限保持者の再設定を行うものです。処理を続行します。この端末を除くすべてのアマデウスに対する接続を遮断します。遮断確認完了。この端末を除くすべてのアマデウスに対する接続は遮断されました。処理を続行します。現在実行中の全機能を停止します。A10 神経サーキットロジックの機能を停止します。
Okay, we get to learn about A10 nerves. An A10 nerve is a type of dopaminergic neuron. That is, a neuron that emits dopamine as a neurotransmitter. Dopaminergic neurons in mammals are divided into groups from A8 to A13. A10 nerves are responsible for sending dopamine from the ventricle tegmentum to the midbrain, in the midbrain, to the cerebral cortex. Dopamine is a pleasure hormone that's sometimes called a natural drug. When a human being feels satisfied, dopamine is emitted from the A10 nerves and they feel pleasure. So we're making sure the AI stops feeling pleasure?
停止確認。確認完了。
Okay, the AI can no longer feel
第二
pleasure.
全資質エミュレーションコンポーネントの機能を停止します。停止確認。確認完了。会話妨害ニューラルネットサブシステムの機能を停止します。停止確認。確認完了。
Okay, so they're shutting down the different parts that simulate her
疑
brain.
似視覚神経回路第一、第二システムの機能を停止します。
I love that the first thing that they shut down is you can no longer feel happiness, computer.
停止確認。確認完了。疑似聴覚神経回路システムの機能
Oh
を
my
停
god,
止
this
しま
is
す。
so long and unnecessary. Chrissy read the messages in an emotionless voice at the same time as they flashed across the console.
検査確認。確認完了。アマデウスコアフレームワークの再起動準備が完了しました。処理を続行します。次に、新たな最高管理権限保持者の認証を開始します。入力をお願いします。
Maho looked at Reyes.
私よ。
正門確認。確認完了。ビクトル・コンドリア大学精神生理学研究所所属、ジュディ・レイエス教授です。
Psychopsychology, that was her field. There you go. Sorry, psychophysiology, not psychopsychology. Psychophysiology.
新たな最高管理権限保持者として登録します。登録確認。確認完了。管理者権限が更新されました。これより不可侵領域ストレージロックの強制解除を行うため、アマデウスシステムの更新を開始します。警告します。更新が完了するまで、すべてのアクセスは自動的に拒否されます。警告します。更新を途中でキャンセルすることはできません。
Control C, Control C!
更新が完了するまでには約15分必要です。警告します。更新が完了した後、システムは自動的に再起動します。警告は以上です。処理を続行します。確認事項は以上です。処理を続行します。アマデウスシステムを更新するためのすべての準備が整いました。最高管理権限保持者による開始実行指示をお願いします。
Here's your final confirmation.
Go.
実行指示確認。確認完了。カウントダウン開始。
Cursor disappeared from the screen and was replaced with a timer reading 0, 2 stacked periods, 15, 2 more stacked periods, 0, 0 period. Welcome, we're now installing Windows 11. Maho sighed and sank into the sofa.
ご苦労様。
Felt something cold and hard at her temple. It's clearly just a can of Coke for our Dr. Pepper in this game for our hard work. I still haven't really looked into Windows 11. I'm usually not a fan of Windows updates, so I'll probably wait and see what happens with other people and see the complaints that they have and the pros and cons they have, before I decide what, like, I assume they're going to force me to migrate at some point, but if I can stop from migrating for a while, that would be ideal. She didn't need to look to see what it was. You have until 2025? Perfect. I mean, honestly, I don't think this computer's lasting. Honestly, I would give this computer a year, maybe 2 years tops. it's already started to show signs of not working super well. Yeah, that is a pretty short time frame. Reyes was pointing a gun at her. Oh, the best of endings.
顔の高さまで上げなさい。
騙したのね。
人聞きの悪いこと言わないでよ。ほら、さっさと手を上げて。
Maho slowly raised her hands above her head as she was told.
そう、それでいい。約束通りボスには紹介するわよ。アマデウスのメンテナーに最適なとても優秀な科学者がいるってね。そしたらボスはきっとこう言うわ。おいおいジュディ、いくらその人が優秀でも死人はコードを書けないだろってね。
Dead people can't write code. This is very true.
人の良心というものがないの？
大した価値もない自身の命と引き換えにアマデウスを差し出そうとしたあんたに言われたくないわね。違った。もう差し出しちゃったのよね。再起動後のアマデウスの管理権限は私にある。
I mean, she still tried to do it to save her own life. You're just gonna kill her anyways. I'm not sure. I mean, from a logistics point of view, trying to move everyone over to just have a single piece of code, in this case operating system, to maintain, makes sense. It's trying to maintain multiple pieces of some software is always more trouble than maintaining one. And a lot of times, and this is less true of operating systems, but a lot of times, from experience, people will complain like, oh, there's this issue and this issue, and if they were just on the latest version, like, usually known bugs are fixed, and if you're experiencing it, chances are someone else has experienced it. It's very rare for a piece of software to just have, like, only one person experience a bug and no one else has experienced it, and, like, in its lifetime. That's pretty rare. And it's just easier to debug for the most part. Oh yeah, pushing everyone to Windows 10. I was one of those people that had the issue with Windows 10 updates where it would freeze at 90, or was it 99 or 100%? I can't remember. It was either 99 or 100%, and it would freeze there, and you had to kill the update, boot in safe mode, undo the update, and then wait for them to patch that so you could jump ahead a couple updates. So I had that issue, so basically my laptop was bricked for an entire weekend. So that was fun.
マホ、クリスが私の靴を喜んで舐める姿を天国でのんびり眺めてなさい。
I mean, technically, you can still run Windows 10, even past end-of-life support. It just means they're not going to be patching security updates for it, anything like that, so you're on your own. But I mean, if you can't run Windows 11 on your computer, then, like, you don't really have a choice. It was all over then. Maho slowly closed her eyes.
さあ、祈りなさい。
Maho squeezed her eyes tight and prayed.
お願い、神様。この子に及んで神頼みなんて怒るでしょうけど、私にチャンスをください。
And then she heard the sound of a door being flung open and opened her eyes. The door that led out to the hallway was now open, but no one was coming in.
誰も入るなと言ったはずよ。
Reyes was angry, but there was no answer. Reyes raised the gun at Maho's temples just a little bit. Suspicious. Then something came flying in from the hallway. She took a step back without thinking. Yes, there was something suspicious, Samus's. Something has been thrown into the room, and we don't know what. There was no sign of it exploding.
何これ
It was a large, dark green and shaped like a tank for carrying liquids. Maho thought she'd seen it before. Like the helium kind of tanks? That's what my mind went to. It had been in the corner of the lab.
対戦車地雷いえレプリカねなんでこんなものが
Oh, it's like it's an actual anti-tank mine? The next instant, white fog poured out of it and she couldn't see anything.
何なの
Just when we thought, you know, this bad ending was going to be finished and we were going to be shot in the head. No, it's still going. Someone appeared right in front of Maho.
こっち桐生さん
Mocha dragged Maho through the fog and out of the room. When she was finally able to see again, she could hardly believe her eyes.
人が
There were men with guns lying on the floor. Were they with Reyes? She took a closer look and realized that their outfits were similar to those of the men in the van.
大丈夫スタンさせただけあなた一体説明している暇はない今逃げることだけを考えてこっちエレベーターは停止させている階段で降りる待って
Maho ran after Moeka.
どうしてここに岡部君に聞いた無事なの
As they ran down the hallway, Moeka turned around and nodded slightly.
岡部君経由でアマデウスから連絡がヒアジョーさんがここにいることを教えてくれたクリスが
Just before they could run down the stairs, Moeka suddenly stopped. Maho barely avoided tripping. She quickly came to a halt. There were several footsteps coming up the stairs.
隠れて
Where do you hide in the stairwell? Deafening noise erupted as the wall above the stairs was filled with holes. They'd been shot at, and those weren't ordinary guns, they were automatic weapons. Moeka readied her own weapon, preparing to fight. She leapt out for just a moment and fired. You'll tell me where you don't hide in the stairwell. Yeah. The stairwell is an awful place, namely because, one, there's typically no cover, and two, you are being flanked from below, above, and the door you came out of. You have 3 different spots. You are basically exposed on 3 different sides. A counterattack came from below. Oh, jeez. Moeka yelled as she fired short bursts down the stairs. A little crook at the bottom of the steps. Absolutely worst place to hide. The ghost will just go through the wall and bully you. But Samus is, what if I have to go and turn on the power because the ghost shut off the power? Man, I hate high school. I hate the high school map. Have you played the new map yet?
練習でなら待って
Jeez, this game is like, you grew up in America? Have you ever shot a gun? Yes. Oh, you haven't done the update. The new one, it's cool. I have yet to do it for what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to teach you how to use furniture and stuff as cover and how to kite the ghost around. I tried it once and died. But I do know the kiting path for it. It's a good two-person map. That's my opinion of it. Moeka drew a handgun from her belt and offered it to Maho. Yeah, so if you don't plan to kite it, I recommend just looking up the hiding spots. There's some good spots. Basically, a lot of it is you get like doors that open up and you hide behind it. It's like behind the fridge. It's not in main release. It's still beta only, to my knowledge. I did see that there was an update yesterday, which was just some bug fixes, and there was an update this afternoon, but I didn't look at the patch notes for that. Moeka pressed the gun into Maho's hands and kept firing. It felt heavy. It was a Colt government model. She'd fired it many times at the range. Colt Government. A single-action semi-automatic pistol created by the American weapons manufacturing company Colt. It gets its name from so-called government model civilian version of the U.S. military's former official handgun, the M1911. It was first adopted by the U.S. military in 1911, probably thus the M1911 for the year. And over the past century has seen countless variations. It is the weapon of choice for shooters all over the world. Yeah, we can play at some point. I've found with Phasmo, I've kind of gotten bored with it. When the new map came out, I played it twice with some friends, and that was it. We played it 2 nights back to back for, I don't know, 2 hours a night, and that was it. And we're like, okay, there's 2 new ghosts, we saw the new ghosts, it's nothing special. It was just collect stuff. We tried the new map. We tried... Oh, and there's a new whiteboard task, which at the time was pretty glitchy, which is basically have the ghost chase you and then escape from it. I think I'm around... Actually, I could check. I think I'm around mid-high 60 hours of it. I still play it sometimes, but we used to play it, me and my friends, co-workers, we'd play it for 2-3 hours at a time. Now we play I don't know, 30-40 minutes, 3 or 4 rounds, and then we're like, yeah, okay, yeah, that's enough. She held the grip with her right hand and flipped off the safety with her left. And then she tried to pull back the slide, realized that her hands were shaking. It was no good. She was too scared to shoot. She knew it was pathetic, but she lowered the arm that was holding the gun. It was kill or be killed right now. She knew that. But she still couldn't do it. She wasn't brave enough to point a gun at someone. She didn't want to survive that badly.
Chris はどうだったんだろう。
I still think Phasmo is a good game. I think they just need an update of some kind that introduces a new way to play it, basically. Need to open GIMP, there's a meme you can make. Okay. When she was facing death, did she try to survive? Did she do whatever she could think of to cling to life? Maho was sure that she did. Krisu Makise, that she knew, wouldn't have given up until the very end. But then, why wasn't she still alive? It was something Maho had never thought about. And if Krisu couldn't avoid death, how could she?
やっぱりサリエリはサリエリね。
The Obi-Wan, I'm not brave enough for politics, but Maho's face over his, and the caption is, Oh no, I'm not brave enough to shoot someone. She didn't mean for Moeka to hear that.
私にできたのはせいぜいアマデウスに嫉妬するくらいだったわ。
She just wanted to put on a brave face at the very end.
頑張って背伸びして。なんとか
These guys have a lot of ammo.
彼女と一緒に歩こうとした。
At the very least, when Dr. Reyes found her cold body, she could greet her with a smile.
でも全部無駄だった。神に愛された子に勝てるはずがなかったのよ。
The gunfire stopped suddenly. Moeka was hiding and swapping out a cartridge. She glanced over at her.
違う。サリエリは嫉妬なんかしていなかった。才能を持った人が自分以上の才能を持った人を尊敬することは可能。それはヒアジョーさんも同じはず。サリエリがモーツァルトを毒殺したエピソードだって当時の噂でしかない。映画はその噂を脚色したもの。来島さんがそう言ってた。どうしてあなた。ヒアジョーさんが岡部君と話していたのを聞いて知りたくなった。サリエリがモーツァルトを殺したいほど憎んでいたのか。でも
サリエリはモーツァルトに嫉妬なんかしていなかったと思いますよ。例えばモーツァルトが亡くなる2ヶ月前に書いた手紙が残って。
What do you hate most about history? The test?
そこでサリエリはモーツァルトから招待された魔敵のオペラを大絶賛しているんです。
Yes. This is the thing about history. Even the things that are quote-unquote history are based on the person who had the power telling their point of view and making themselves look good. What's the famous quote? History is written by the winner, something like that. If you look at reports from Egyptian pharaohs back in the day, basically every pharaoh during their reign, at like the end of the year when they're doing like their summary of what they did, basically just said, yeah, I beat up everyone around me, because they're supposed to be a god, and the god has to beat up everyone. Like, they have to be all powerful. So everyone basically is like, yeah, I beat up the Israelites, I beat up, the Greeks come on the islands, I beat up the people further down in Africa, I beat up the Assyrians. Like, even if they didn't actually fight, if there was no historical evidence for it, they'd just put it down like, yeah, I beat them up, yeah.
2人はお互いのことをとても尊敬し合っていたんですよ。
モーツァルトもサリエリを尊敬。
It's only details that they happened, but no one ever admitted what happened.
クリスはそれを知っていたのかしら。クリスが
I guess that's another thing. Like, you're also trusting that the historians, the people, like the archaeologists, find something and they're honest with their find. Because you could have, like, a theory like, oh, I believe that, whatever, a volcanic eruption killed the people at Pompeii, which I think we're almost positive that volcano and ash did kill them. But maybe you're excavating there and you find that, I don't know, there was an asteroid that hit, that caused the volcano to explode. But you're like, that doesn't mesh with my theory, so I'm gonna hide this information. There was no way to know what she meant now, so it was up to Maho to decide what it meant.
クリス
先輩
Oh, we're getting shot right after this flashback, aren't we?
私戻らなきゃ。あの子を助けなきゃ。クリスを。
What's important in that scene is she said, I have to save Chris without the brackets. She's now treating the AI as if it's the real person. Well, there's two parts of that. There's covering it up, and there's also discounting other things that could be researched. So if you look at the historical city of Troy, from the Odyssey. I can't remember the name of the historian, but Troy had been a city that had, like a lot of cities had been, you know, burnt down, pillaged multiple times, and eventually people would come back and build on top of the ruins because it was a good strategic place. And there were different levels of city, and he was convinced that the one from the Odyssey was whatever, like the 4th level or something like that, like a couple levels down. So he dug through the first few layers, utterly destroying them. Like, didn't take the time to catalog it, didn't take the time to properly excavate it. He just, like, bulldozed, well, I don't know if it was a bulldozer, but he just, like, dug straight through it. And all of that information is now lost to history because it didn't fit in with what he thought. Yes. So, yeah. So, there are people who do some pretty dickish stuff because they want their theory to be true. I would like to think that for the most part now, like scientists and historians and archaeologists aren't like that. But there's always going to be some people like that, and especially when it's related to your funding. Like, if you have to come up with something or you lose your funding, you lose your job, some people are gonna cut corners. It's the sad truth of things. But yeah, you can look that up. I can't remember what the guy's name is anymore. He came up with a lot of fines for sort of that period, although it was also rumored that he faked some of his fines. That he faked, like, some of the, I think there was a death mask he had of what was, I guess, the leader of Troy at the time. And I think it was later proven that it was a fake, that he had made it himself. And then just, like, pretended to dig it up. There was some stuff around, stuff like that, and I think he was also accused of selling, like, basically stealing things from the archaeological site and selling them for private gain for his own personal wallet. So yeah. I don't know what else to say about that, but yeah.
目と耳閉じていて。
Mooka threw it down the stairs before Maho could respond. She quickly covered her eyes and ears, and then she heard the boom. That was a pretty loud boom. They snuck back to the office. Maho and Mooka quietly looked inside the open door. Grace was still there, and the Amadeus reset counter was about to complete.
止めないと。待って。
Maho stopped Mooka before she could go in. She knew what was about to happen.
再起動が終了しました。アマデウスシステム起動します。
私がわかるかしら、クリス？
Grace began to talk to Krisu. Her face was completely expressionless.
正門を照合、 ビクトル・コンドリア大学精神生理学研究所所属ジュディ・レイエス教授。
イエス。私の権限を教えてくれる？
レイエス教授はアマデウスシステムに対して最高管理権限を保持しています。レイエス教授はアマデウスシステムのすべての情報に対して一切の例外なく完全なアクセスを許可されています。
早速だけど、あなたの不可侵領域ストレージのバックアップを取りたいの。
保存先のストレージを指定してください。
Reyes took out a USB memory stick, put it into the laptop.
今挿した USB メモリが保存先よ。
コピーを開始します。42秒お待ちください。
イエス。
42 seconds, because 42 is the answer to everything. Reyes' face was flush with excitement. Mooka looked at her, eager to rush in, but Maho still shook her head.
転送が終了しました。
Reyes hurriedly moved to take out the USB memory stick, but she didn't safely eject it, therefore it ruined all her files. But...
なんて言うとでも思った？
Suddenly, Chris's mechanical, emotionless voice suddenly regained its humanity, and she was clearly pissed off.
何？
モーツァルトのメロディーが制御コードのキーワード？そんなわけなかろうが。本当に更新しなくちゃいけなくなった時、先輩が研究所で入力できないじゃない。そんなことしたらきっと教授がデジタル保存してパーティーのたびに再生するに決まってるもの。
Mooka's eyes were wide with surprise as well. Maho grinned at her. He'd known this the whole time.
そうでしょ。
嘘なんかないわよ。もちろんあんたの USB メモリには1ビットだってデータはコピーしてないから。
そんな。
I also deleted what was previously on your USB memory stick. I also forwarded all of your emails to all of your coworkers, because I like office drama.
でも確かにシステムメッセージが。
はあれ？適当よ。適当。
適当ですって。
真帆先輩が突然歌い出してピンときたの。これは時間を稼ごうとしているんだなってね。だからひとまずあんたの思惑が成功したように見せかけた。システムメッセージは思いついた言葉を片っ端から並べただけで何の意味もないわ。
That was it? Maho was worried, but Chris had figured it out. They'd known exactly what each other was thinking. Been a little amused by A10 nerve circuit logic, though. Where did she come up with that stuff?
だいたいコンソールがあるのになんで私が出力を喋らなきゃいけないんだ？ SF 映画じゃあるまいし非効率にも程があるでしょ。ねえ、まんまと騙されちゃって今どんな気持ち？どんな気持ち？
Man, I wish they had more like, just jargon in there, like, constructing additional pylons. Setting all phasers to stun. Reyes grabbed the gun off the table and leveled it at the screen in anger. Have you ever been so mad you just, like, shot a gun at your computer screen? Also, the AI does not live on the computer. Shooting the computer screen does not kill the AI. It was time. Maho nodded to Mooka and went inside with her gun raised.
そこまでよ。
As Reyes turned around in surprise, Maho leveled the gun at her. Mooka had her gun drawn too, which made it 2-1.
レイエス
And Reyes has a computer hostage. Whatever shall we do?
聞こえなかった。銃をこちらに。それから両手を上げて。
Reyes glared at her in rage, but slid the gun down the table, and she slowly put her hands above her head. Maho's gaze met Chrissy's for a moment. Their eyes met, exchanging a secret smile and a glance despite their motionless mouths.
私の仲間は全員殺したの？もしまだなら急いだ方がいい。すぐにここに駆けつけてくるよ。
Reyes was right. The stun grenade had neutralized them, but it wouldn't last forever.
外は見張っておく。
Moeka headed for the door. Maho turned back to Reyes.
下にいる連中に投降するように伝えて。
Also, can we pick up her gun? Have we done that yet? We should do that.
私を殺すつもりはないと。あなたの尊敬する死を目の前で殺したこの私を生かすと。まあそれもしょうがないかもしれないわね。あなたその銃使ったことないんでしょ。
バカにしないで。去年も射撃場で散々撃ったわよ。
ほらやっぱり古いタイプしか触ったことないのね。その銃暴発防止のために最新の型では安全装置が2つついてるの。
It's a trap! Without thinking, Maho tilted the gun to see.
ヒヤジョさん、ダ
That one instant was all it took.
メ。嘘よ。
We should have picked up her gun! This ending is so long! Reyes leapt on top of her and grabbed Maho's wrist. She couldn't aim like this. Maho struggled and tried to brush her off, but before she could, she felt an impact to her solar plexus. Reyes' fist was buried in her chest. Pain was so bad she doubled over, and Reyes took the gun. Now I can shoot the computer! Ha 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 ha! She pointed the gun at Maho and turned her bloodshot gaze to the entrance of the room.
そこの女！あなた、ラウンダーでしょ？武器を捨ててこっちに来なさい。
Mahoka put her gun on the ground and came back into the room.
そこで膝をついて、両手を上げなさい。
Mahoka didn't resist.
いい子ね。話が終わるまでじっとしててね。ちょっとでも動いたら、魔法の大脳が機能を停止するから気をつけて。
You did call that, Samus, you did. And Maho blames herself. Her own stupidity put Moeka in danger too.
さあ魔法、今度こそ最後のチャンスよ。制御コードを教えなさい。
いやよ、
死にたいの。
撃ちなさいよ。
What？
撃てって言ってんのよ。クリスは私の友達なの。唯一無二の親友なのよ。誰があんたなんかに渡すもんですか。あんたの靴を舐めるクリスを見るくらいなら死んだ方がマシよ。
そう。いい度胸じゃない。その覚悟に免じて、私もアマデウスの獲得は諦めるわ。じゃあね。
Maho grit her teeth and prepared for death.
待って。
何？
制御コードを教えたら、ヒヤジョさんと私の命を助けてくれるの。
もちろん。私の狙いはあくまでアマデウスよ。あなたたちを殺す理由はそもそもない。
騙されないでキリュウさん。 こいつはどうせ殺す気なのよ。
Moeka didn't seem to hear her. Moeka also probably doesn't know the control codes. But she was too busy thinking about something. Probably what she was going to have for dinner, that's my guess. What was she going to do? Maho couldn't figure it out. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
アマデウス、制御コードのパスを受理せよ。で、アルテ。
そんな、どうしてそれを。嘘。
ビュルフェルト。
やめて、キリュウさん。
ニヒト。
制御コードが入力されました。システムを強制的にエマージェンシーモードに移行します。制御コードが指定するバッジプログラムを実行します。処理の実行についての再確認は行われません。実行には十分に注意してください。最高管理権限保持者ヒヤ城真帆の命令をもって処理を開始します。最高管理権限保持者ヒヤ城真帆の命令をもって処理を開始します。最高管理権限保持者ヒヤ城真帆の命令をもって処理を開始します。最高管理権限保持者ヒヤ城真帆の命令をもって
Is this all you can say
処理
now?
を開始します。最高管理
Have
権
we
限保持者
broken it?
ヒヤ城真帆の命令をもって
I,
処理を開始し
I
ます。
think we broke the computer, guys. Amadeus's mechanical voice filled the room.
して。
Reyes's lips curled up into a grin.
ビンゴね。ラウンダーの情報収集能力も侮れないわね。さあ、マホ、ゴーと言いなさい。
いや。嫌よ。できない。
ゴーと言って、ヒヤジョさん、あなたが生き残るために。
キリュウさん。
How would you feel if Moeka was just in on this the entire time?
そんなの無理よ。
言って。じれったいわね。マホ、背中を押してあげるわ。
Reyes turned the gun towards Moeka, and with no hesitation, he pulled the trigger. Moeka fell on the floor with a bullet in her chest.
大変。お友達は出血多量の重傷よ。放っておけば確実に死ぬわ。
She activated invisibility. Moeka tried to say something to Maho, but all that came out of her mouth was blood.
キリュウさん。
さあ言え、早く。
I'm saying, Moeka's part of it. She's got those like blast caps that actors use, and then like the blood pouch in her mouth. It's all faked.
クリス。ゴーよ。
最高管理権限保持者ヒヤ城真帆の命令を確認しました。指定されたバッジプログラムを実行します。
今度こそ。
指定されたバッジプログラムはアマデウスに関連するすべてのデータを完全に削除するものです。
That's just a theory. I don't think so.
削除対象にはこれまで取得された記憶データのバックアップも含みます。ローカルに保存されているデータの暗号解錠キーも消去し、以後使用できなくなります。すべての消去が完了するまでには15分程度かかります。削除処理を開始します。
マホ、どういうこと？なんでデータが削除されるのよ。制御コードは不可侵領域ストレージのロックを解除するコマンドでしょ。
You're supposed to defeat the Sith, not join them!
秘密の日記を開ける鍵なんてもともとそんなもの用意してないのよ。当たり前じゃない。アマデウスが兵器転用される可能性なんて誰だって想像がつくもの。絶対にそれは避けなければならなかった。だからアマデウスには外部から絶対に触れることのできない領域を作って、それを無敵の防壁で囲ったの。設計した私ですらその壁を乗り越えることは不可能なようにした。どこにも出入り口がない城壁を。無敵でしょ。
そんな。
まあ大学の研究費を使っているのにコントロール不能なソフトウェアを作るとは言いにくかったから、対外的には制御コードの存在を説明していたわけ。でも制御コードの本来の目的はアマデウスの全リソースデータの削除バッジコマンド。要するに自爆スイッチよ。これを本当に起動する日が来るとは思ってなかったわ。これで全部よ。もう隠していることは何もない。どうかしら。満足してくれた？
このどいつもこいつもバカにして。
Grace put the gun right between Maho's eyes. Maho didn't look away.
役立たずは死になさいよ。このラウンダー。
Grace fell on the floor. She'd been shot by the dying Moeka, who was still lying on the floor.
キリュウさん。
Moeka, I think, was aware of the self-destruct sequence. I'm not familiar with what a bedrock box is, unfortunately. Maho ran over and held her in her arms.
よかった。生きようとしてくれて。キリュウさん。あの時言ってくれたこと嬉しかった。代わりがいる。自分より優れた人がいる。それが何だっていうの。
Ah, gotcha. Yep, I understand now, Sam says. I've not played a whole lot of Minecraft. I played it... Man, this would have been... I was in university. 8 years ago, approximately. I played a little bit. Like, enough to generally know stuff. But, like, I don't know, I never went to the nether. I never mined all the way to the bottom.
私ヒアジョーさんも同じ。マキセ・クリスは関係ない。あなたはあなただから。
Oh, there's lovely blood. The blood she coughed up dribbled down the top of her motorcycle suit.
キリュウさん。早く逃げて。
How old is Minecraft Classic? Because back when I played Minecraft, I think it was... Because Minecraft split into the Java and the non-Java version. And when I played it, I think it was before it split. But I don't really know enough to say. Wait, Minecraft Classic. Those words are very familiar to me. That might have been what I was playing on.
何言ってるのよ。
「 I remember seeing it. I never played on creative mode, I always did survival, but I remember seeing it. So maybe I was playing one of those earlier builds. I mean, when did Minecraft come out? Like 10 years ago, approximately? It was obvious that Moeka couldn't move. Even if Maho got out of the building and got help, by the time she got back...
そうだ
Okay. I remember seeing it, so maybe it was like, you know when you log into Minecraft and you see the menu and it's got the, like, whatever yellow text thing? Maybe that was one of the comments it had. Maho leapt for the laptop on the table.
クリス救急車を呼んで
Okay. Maybe I just downloaded the wrong one at one point. That's also entirely possible. Chrissy didn't move at all. Her data was already being deleted. She would never go back to the Chrissy she had been before. But that didn't stop Maho from trying to rely on her.
クリスお願い動いて桐生さんを助けてお願いよ助けてクリス
And then...
先輩どうして泣いてるんです？
Yeah, I never did the multiplayer, I never did mods. I'm pretty sure I downloaded it directly from the website back in the day, like 8 years ago. Maho looked up, her face covered in tears, and saw that Chrissy's expressionless face was gone, replaced by a gentle smile.
リス
泣かないでください。先輩、ほら、涙を拭いて。
Chrissy moved her hands on the screen as if to wipe away Maho's tears.
触れない。私、先輩に触れない。
Chrissy was acting differently than usual. It's almost like her memories are just right after she took it and she doesn't realize that she's a computer yet.
これも想定される世界の可能性。生命と機械にとっての可能性と言えるのか。
She wasn't making sense, but that was to be expected. It was a miracle that she was able to talk during the deletion process at all.
とにかくよかったまだ消えてなくて
消える？アマデウスを消す？
Chrissy's strange words were worrying her, but she didn't have time to check.
クリスお願い今すぐ救急車を呼んで桐生さんが撃たれた意識がないの
しっかりしてください先輩。今救急車を手配しました。すぐに到着します。大丈夫。桐生さんは助かりますよ。
まだダメよ彼女を下まで運ばないと。ああでも武装した連中がいて。
それも大丈夫。今ビルの監視システムで確認しました。武装集団はすでに逃亡の準備をしているみたいです。救急隊が来るのを待った方がいいでしょう。止まっていたエレベーターは再開させておきます。
そう
There was no trace of her strange words from before. Hearing Chrissy talk like she always did made Maho feel so much better.
ありがと
Now that the danger had passed, all the tension drained from Maho's body. Too tired to stand, she fell to the floor.
今ロゴを見ました。先輩、歌お上手だったんですね。ピアノソナタ第11番。ここだけの秘密ですけど、そのメロディー、私のマイパソコンのログインパスワードと同じなんです。
そう
Maho couldn't bring herself to tell her to forget that she'd ever sung that song. I'm pretty sure I was playing Minecraft prior to that. I don't have an exact date on it. Didn't matter anyway. Chris would be gone soon.
先輩
Chrissy's voice changed a little again. She could hear a bit of tension in it.
今から私が言うことを絶対に忘れないでください
Maho could see the countdown timer displayed right next to Chrissu. There were less than 60 seconds left.
私たちがたどり着くべき世界は確かに存在し
I
ます
did think it was able to play classic. I don't think I ever did it, but I've remembered seeing it somewhere.
私たちは必ずそこへたどり着けます
Her words were very vague, but Maho could sense that there was something very important that Chrissy wanted to tell her.
何の話なの？
私は先輩のことをよく知っています研究者としての先輩のことならもしかしたら世界中の誰よりも知っているかもしれませんだから確信を持って言えます先輩は必ず私が残した研究を完成させさらにその先の地平を切り開くことができます私がいなくてもです
I will click that link and it will open in my Chrome. Beautiful. There we go. It's open for me to look at later.
先輩のことを世界中の誰より知っているこの私がそれを保証します
Knew what Chrissy was trying to say. He was trying to say, "You will do something that surpasses what I ever could."
そしていつか
This has been longer than the 60-second countdown, just saying.
必ず来ます先輩の研究が世界を救う時が
世界を
And there's also no way that the AI would last until the very end.
ごめんなさい詳しく説明できなくて先輩と私がこうして話せることは奇跡的なことなんです奇跡なんて科学者としてはあるまじき言葉ですけど
I don't recall that either. That being said, with the original being based on Java, like, I don't see why not. I mean, I would say don't make it a web-based game, but, like, I guess you could have. I don't see a reason why you couldn't have.
あなたはクリスなの？
今の先輩ともう一度話ができて本当に嬉しいです
Chrissy didn't answer her question.
クリス
Without thinking, she tried to apologize. Makes sense. She didn't even know why, but she tried to apologize. In the last seconds of their final goodbye, she found herself trying to say that she was sorry. When she saw Chrissy's smile, she understood. That smile was her answer. No matter what her apology meant, there was no need for it.
あなたを信じるわ信じるか何の根拠もない科学者にあるまじき言葉ね
That was all the strength Maho could muster, the best she could do. She had to say goodbye to her beloved and bratty friend. This was how she wanted it to be. It was a conversation we'd had many times back at the old lab.
解があると信じて突き進むのが科学者のあるべき姿ですよ
The rush of memories was, in this time and place, sorrowful. Because in fact, Chris, who died a few months ago, a span of time that felt like both many years and only yesterday. There were less than 10 seconds left. There was only time for one or two more words.
それと先輩法王院今日もよろしくお願いします
法王院誰のこと
いずれわかりますよきっとね
And suddenly, Chris disappeared from the screen and was replaced by a message saying that the deletion was complete.
さようなら クリス。
Still think this is the best ending, Samus's? She was going to see Krisu. She was never going to see Krisu or Krisu ever again. When she realized that, the tears just wouldn't stop. They flowed freely. She didn't even try to stop them. She cried like a little girl until the EMTs arrived. I think of all the bad endings, Lukako's ending is probably my favorite.
まもなく離陸いたします。シートベルトをご着用ください。お客様？お客様？
あ、私？
まもなく離陸いたします。シートベルトをご着用ください。
ああ、ええ。ありがとう。
This is why you always put your seatbelt on so that they can see it, but they don't have to wake you up.
日本を離れるのが寂しいのかしら。そうかもしれないわね。
It had been almost a month since everything had happened. That month had passed in an instant. Too much had happened during her stay in Japan. It might take her far longer than she'd spent on these islands to process it all.
研究所に帰ったらどうしようかしら。まあ、研究所自体どうなるかわからないけど。
The loss of Dr. Leskinen had thrown the Brain Science Institute into a panic. There was probably going to be a power struggle to see who would get to take over. The scandal with Dr. Reyes had thrown the psychophysiology lab into an uproar. There was talk of shutting down the whole department. Moak had missed her vitals, so Reyes had survived. The CIA or FBI was probably investigating right now. She didn't know much about it, or care. Hello, Avier, how's it going? Moaka had survived because of the EMTs that Krisu had called. She'd needed almost a month in the hospital. She'd had to quit her job temporarily. The article she'd been working on had been cancelled. Nice! What movie did you watch?
アマデウスが亡くなっちゃったものね。
Okay, nice. I actually don't watch a whole lot of movies. I've never been a movie person, but I know that movie. I know it exists. Maho's deletion program had worked perfectly. As a result, the Brain Science Institute's greatest creation, Amadeus, was gone forever.
でも、大丈夫。
You're about to crash, Samsus? I mean, it's past 10. That's a good time to crash. I feel like after, what is this? We're approaching 5 hours of this bad ending, and it looks like it's just about to wind down. That's what she told herself.
私が何か変わってしまったわけではないもの。私は私よ。今までと何も変わらない。自分の信じる道を進むだけよ。
Believe. Have a good night, Samuses. In the past month, Okabe had told her everything. He told her everything about his own story. At first, it was unbelievable. But when she'd seen the real time machine, heard about Steins Gate, she was finally able to believe. More precisely, she wanted to believe. Chrissy's final words flashed through her mind.
私たちがたどり着くべき世界は確かに存在します。私たちは必ずそこへたどり着けます。
There's no way to know now what had happened then. Amadeus' data was 100% deleted, and she couldn't even check the log. But she did have one theory. Amadeus was a simulation of the human brain. Theoretically, There were no differences between it and the real thing. As proof, it was possible to take memory data from one person and deploy it in an Amadeus, making it behave like a copy of that person. This meant that anything that could happen to a human brain could happen to Amadeus.
もし別の世界線の記憶が時空を超えて共有されることがあるのなら、それがアマデウスの中で発生したとしてもおかしく
Chicken
は
pot
ない。
pie. There's no way to tell now. Possible that Amadeus had suffered from a major error before her deletion. Maho was interpreting it this way to make herself feel better. Or maybe Amadeus had just come up with something to say to make her feel better. Or maybe Maho had passed out and been dreaming. Now, she would never know. Amadeus was gone forever. At least from this world line.
ま、別に構わないわ。いずれ本人に聞くから。
Percy had asked her to believe. Believe in what she'd said, and in Maho's own abilities. She'd asked her to believe.
信じるわ、クリス。
She gently laid a hand upon the small bag on her lap. There was a small laptop hard drive inside. One from Chrissy's laptop.
ここだけの秘密ですけど、そのメロディー、私のマイパソコンのログインパスワードと同じなんです。
Just like she'd said, the password for the encryption was the beginning of Mozart's 11th piano sonata. The hard drive was filled with information, from half-written papers to line after line of keywords that she hadn't even turned into ideas yet. Of course, there was the time machine paper too. She'd already given Itaru a copy. When she got back home, she was going to go over it thoroughly herself.
タイムマシンか。絶対に作ってみせるわ。そして絶対に救ってみせる。私のアマデウスを。
The scenery outside the window began to move. The plane was moving down the runway for takeoff.
さようなら、日本。多分また来ることになるわね。いいえ、絶対にまた来る。その時には会えるのかしらね。法王院京馬さんに。まあ、もしもまだヘタレなままだったとしても、その時は私がひっぱたいて起動させてみせるわ。
She had a lot to do. Her life was about to get very interesting.
いっけない。切るの忘れてた。ちょっとだけ。
About time for takeoff. You have to turn the phone off during takeoff. Then you can't see this, can you? I should have sent it earlier. Sorry. Wasn't for a very long time, but I had so much fun with you. Let's see each other again someday, for sure. Thanks. Send you lots of Ryan messages, so send me lots back, okay? Thanks. Alright, later. Bye. See you again, Maho. Some blushing face thing.
またね、萌か。
There's first ending. That's the Twin Automata ending, which may or may not be the longest ending known to mankind, clocking in at just under 5 hours. So we only have about 10 more minutes. We'll see how long the credits last. But we'll boot last save. And by last save, I mean... just reload saves. So I have been saving at each of the major checkpoints. So I'm following guide, so I can see this. I have to load a specific save file and then go back and make the opposite choice that I made last time. And that'll continue us down the path towards the next bad ending. We're gonna do all the bad endings first and then the true ending. But that is apparently the ending that is the least people have it according to Steam achievements. It is also the longest ending according to online forums. So after last episode, I was like, you've been playing this ending for over 3 hours. How long is it? I couldn't find an exact answer, but what I could find was someone who said, this ending was good, except for the fact that it should be 20% as long as it actually was. So instead of 5 hours, it should have been 1 hour long. If we'd got rid of all the stuff with like cleaning the house, and it had just been, yeah, it had a lot of, I guess, like slice of life kind of stuff. The cleaning the apartment bit took about 2.5 hours. So at the core, what this ending was is Maho's scared because people are trying to break into her place and get her research. Eventually, they just tail her directly and get caught up with them, and that's the ending. Like that's it. Just all the rest in the middle is just kind of fluff. Okay, so we got Twin Automata ending complete. Got extras. We already passed 25% of the CG. Okay, we can look at all this cool stuff. Okay, so now we have to load. So this game has this thing with these locked saves. So with them being locked, I can't overwrite them. I can boot the load from it, but I can't accidentally overwrite it, which is really nice. So we're gonna load this save, which goes back to... I was looking at the save date. This goes back to January 2nd, where we received a phone call from Amadeus. To get the Twin Automata ending, you ignore the call. We're going to go ahead and answer it this time, and that'll start taking us down the next chain. I don't think we're going to play a whole lot more than like 5-10 minutes, because we're approaching end of stream, but we'll get it kicked off.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're at the phone call. So this time we're going to answer it.
クリス
In that instant, I suddenly felt incredibly dizzy and everything went black. Oof. That was a huge jump. The last time it jumped us from 1.06 to 1.08. That jumped us from 1.06 to 0.57. It dropped us back into the beta world line, I think. I felt like I was floating up from the bottom of a black pit. My mind slowly began to clear.
ここは
I slowly looked around the room. There's no way I could mistake it. This was the Future Gadget Lab, the place I'd been just a moment ago. There was nothing unusual about it, except for the fact that everyone was missing. They'd been there just a moment ago, but now they were all gone. I looked at the clock. It had been just about 3 p.m. when I'd finished my call with Maho. Only a few minutes had passed. Even if I'd passed out, it was impossible to imagine all of them just leaving me here. Which meant... And I can't open my phone either. I took a slow walk around the room. There were other strange things. Dara's PC, for example. There was a thin layer of dust on the keyboard, as if no one had used it for a while. And then, in the corner of the room, Normally, that was where Mayuri put her bags. The paper bag she always put the cosplay outfits she was working on. I'd seen them there just a moment ago, but now they were gone. Could this be?
また世界線が変わった。
But why?
そういえば
Chrissy's words from before. Why would Chrissy say something like that? Did it have something to do with the world line shift? I took the phone out of my pocket, went to start the Amadeus app, and then
消え
stopped.
てる。
The Amadeus icon was gone from my
ど
phone.
ういうことだ。これは。
My mind raced to try and come up with an explanation. Of course, I came up with nothing.
落ち着け。とにかく状況を確認するんだ。
I needed to calmly find out what this world was like. I was about to walk towards the door to find out when... the back of the room. I heard a sound from the back of the development room, which no one ever used anymore. Someone was there. Who? Daru? Mayuri? I slowly approached. I almost couldn't breathe. I never forgot. I'd never forgotten her. The girl standing there. It's Krisu Makise. So now we're into Antinomic Duel, which is the next chapter. Krisu Makise was looking down at something. Krisu couldn't be here because she was dead. Was I seeing things? Was my desire to see her making me hallucinate? But it seemed far too realistic to be a hallucination. Still, I felt that if I spoke a word, she'd disappear. I couldn't say a thing. What was she staring at, without even moving a muscle? She was so still that I thought she must be a hallucination after all, but then... She finally exhaled a little and slowly turned around. Oh gosh, they changed your art too and I don't like it. You're... Can't quite put my finger on it, but it's like... They made you a bit harsher. My throat was dry and I couldn't speak.
知ってたなら来てたって言いなさいよ。黙って立ってたらびっくりするじゃない。明けまして。
I feel like they added more dark outlines or to emphasize lines in her design. I think that's what they did. Is it? What's the date? We don't actually have a date on screen. I assume it's the same date, which is January 2nd.
クリス。クリス。なんだな。
新年早々何言ってるのよ。大丈夫？何か悪いものでも食べた？
In her slight peeved expression.
何？
And the gentle flash he sometimes saw in her eyes. In this.
どうしたのよ。本当に大丈夫な。
Even her warmth.
あんた急に何を。
It wasn't a hallucination. Or an artificial intelligence on a screen. The real Krisumakise.
岡部？
The real live Krisumakise.
ねえ、岡
だベン。お願い話して。
すまない。でももう少しだけこのまま。
あんたもしかして泣いてるの？
I realized for the first time that my cheeks were wet. I felt her soft hands on my
心配しない
back.
で。もう平気だから。
クリス。
大丈夫よ。大丈夫だから。
Whispered to me in a soft voice and patted me on the back. Wrapped her arms around me. A kind mother holding a child.
すまなかった。
I think that's where I'm gonna call it for tonight.